Hey guys, I hope that you are doing well, and today we're gonna talk about January. This is gonna be a video for all 12 signs, January horoscopes, and I do wanna apologize that I am not able to post the new moon in Capricorn video this time around. January promises to be a really busy month for me specifically, so I have to get the January readings out right now, and I have to prioritize which one goes out, and it has to be January rather than a new moon or full moon video, so I apologize ahead of time. Another thing I want to mention is that I'm still offering the yearly personal horoscopes, which include solar return, progressions, and transits. And this one you can purchase on my website. I will leave the link down in the description box below. And January will be the last month I'm offering these. Okay, let's move on to January. I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish events to discuss, but I do want to combine retrogrades in one event. So we have the full moon in Cancer opposite Mercury on January 6th of 2022. This is the one we're going to discuss for each sign. Then the retrogrades turning direct, right? These are Mars and Mercury, January 12th and January 18th. Then January 18th, we have Sun conjuncting Pluto at 28 degrees. And the last event that I would like to cover in this video is January 21st, new moon in Aquarius. Okay, so let's move on straight to the signs. Let's move on to Aries. Hi Aries, I hope that you are doing well. So for you guys, I mean for everybody really, it may feel like the end of the year, end of 2022 is not quite a time of completion, right? Because there is a lot of stuff that's still kind of pending, still up in the air, and it is due to Mars and Mercury being retrograde at the very end of the year and in the beginning of January. Well, good news is that on January 12th, Mars goes direct, which means that it goes direct in your third house, which means that if there were any issues with the documents, any issues connected to gathering documents, if there was maybe a lot that you had to kind of restore from the past. I remember one time I had to somehow get bank statements, like as many as I could, from a bank that I no longer even banked with from like 5 years ago. And you know, that's a really frustrating thing that someone has to go through. So it could be something like that maybe you were doing and are doing until January 12th. Maybe you are encountering a lot of miscommunications with people at work, or maybe with your family, maybe with your friends, or there's just a lot to do. You know, maybe you're trying to launch your website, maybe you're trying to come up with certain services and you're just doing that work behind the scenes. You're not quite taking it further yet, right, into action. But now after January 12th, you're able to launch whatever you need to launch, submit the paperwork, find the right piece of paper that you've been needing to find for a while but couldn't, for example, and so on. And same goes for Mercury. You know, Mercury is retrograde in your 10th house all the way until January 18th. So once that's done, you know, you may feel like things are just kind of flowing easier at work. Maybe communication at work, communication with authorities, communication with certain institutions, with bosses, with managers is going much smoother, much easier, and there is no more frustration there. Things are not delayed anymore. The paychecks are coming through right on time. The documents are coming through right on time, and so on. So that is a good time. You know, I believe that January 18th is that pivotal point where we start feeling like we are in the new year. On January 6th of, why did I put 2023? I mean, I put 2022. There is and of course for each sign I put 2022, wow. January 6th, there is a full moon in Cancer opposite Mercury. That's happening in your 4th house. So I would say that that's a very emotional timing. You know, that's a very emotional day, emotional night. With the opposition to Mercury being in Capricorn, I feel like you could receive some kind of emotional news, right? And this emotional piece of information. And this could be impacting your home. This is a completion though, which is a good thing. You know, that means that you no longer have to really wait too long for this to come to fruition. You no longer, I believe that there is something here that is going to be decided around January 6th, but you will truly see the work being done and culminated around, you know, January 18th when Mercury does go direct. And it's like, okay, you know, somebody wants to buy my house, for example, and that's the news that's coming in, and it's emotional in a way because maybe you love that home, but now you have to sell it. You feel like maybe you are attached emotionally. It's your childhood home, for example. Maybe there is someone, for example, a sister, a brother, or maybe somebody within your family, someone that has been living with you for a while, decides to move. Decides to empty out a room in the house, and maybe you feel emotional about that, but yet you understand that this is something that maybe needs to happen, and it will probably happen by, you know, January 18th or so. This could be also maybe a conflict between you and one of the parents that is coming to an end. However, there's still a lot of things to be talked about, a lot of things to be expressed to each other, but I think you will be able to manage that just fine. It's an important full moon for you. You know, it does affect your past, it does also affect your future, and it's your private life that comes to the forefront. Something there needs to shift, something there needs to end, so that way you can close the chapter and move forward. On January 18th, right on the day when Mercury goes direct, there is a conjunction between Sun and Pluto at 28 degrees in your 10th house in Capricorn. This happens once a year, right? And with Sun conjuncting Pluto, I would say that there is some kind of a powerful, authoritative person that may either recognize you, that may somehow interview you, that may acknowledge you, may favor you as well. You know, this is a very neutral conjunction. Conjunctions are neutral, right? They can go either way. And in this case, it could be that if you worked really hard up to this point, you could get rewarded by authorities. You could get rewarded by a certain, I don't know, governmental figure, by a boss, right? You could receive a promotion. You could also be, you know, if things were not quite going in your favor before, maybe they could go in your favor now. But it could also be that maybe if you were slacking, if you were kind of getting in trouble, you know, this could be that moment when they're like, all right, now you're in trouble. You know, it depends. It depends what you've done prior to this, if you've done a lot of work, and if you were prepared to witness some kind of a powerful figure, possibly at work, or maybe you were ready to go through a situation at work that was very important to you. This is the day, you know, this is the day that will indicate the future actions at your work and future developments at your work. I do believe that this could be a very important, very powerful day. You could recognize your own authority around this time as well. And the last event that I would like to mention is happening on January 21st, and it is a new moon in Aquarius in your 11th house. This one is a friendly new moon. This one is more optimistic, and I do believe that it somehow intertwines with, you know, the Sun conjunct Pluto energy, with Mercury going direct in your 10th house, with a full moon in your 4th house. It is some kind of a fresh new goal that you now have after overcoming certain difficulties within your home, within your career, within your relationship with authorities or parents. There's some kind of a new exciting goal. And this goal could manifest for the next 6 months, right? It may not be instant. It may not be right on the new moon that it manifests, right? And it's like perfect and right here with you. But it could be this new plan, this new aspiration, this new exciting development that brings either a sense of, you know, you not being alone in this. It's like you have people around you that are supporting you, people around you that are on the same page, that have the same interests as you. It's like a sense of community in this case. or maybe you are getting together with friends or getting together with people that are very much like you to work on some kind of a team project that is very exciting. Or maybe this is you understanding that your wish is actually closer to you than you thought, and you're going to be thinking of ways and taking action on the ways how to bring this wish closer to you. It could be a wish coming true in the next 6 months, guys. So that's your January reading. Thank you so much for watching, and now I'm moving on to Taurus. Hi Taurus, I hope that you are doing well, and here is your January reading. By the way, I've had a couple comments in the recent past regarding my older cat, this one right here, that has this like breathing issue. He's here. He's totally fine. He's 12 years old. I'm recording, in a different room now where all of my animals are hanging out. So you can see pretty much all of them throughout the video, probably, considering I'm gonna be here for a little while. Okay, so Taurus, I do want to cover retrogrades first. This year, the end of the year, may feel like it's not actually, like a year ending and the new year beginning on a fresh note. It may not feel that way because we do have 2 planets going retrograde right at the very end of the year, right? Mars will continue its retrograde motion while Mercury will go retrograde. So it's not going to be like this forever. Mid-January will feel like a new year. It will feel like we are finally completing everything. We're finally being done with all of that necessary work, and now we can welcome the new year into our lives. And January 12th is when Mars goes direct in your 2nd house. And, this could finally be the time when you make that purchase. When I had Mars going retrograde in my 2nd house, that's when we were trying to go through the real estate transaction. We were trying to buy a house. We did, but it was a very difficult transaction. So for some of you maybe that are currently dealing with a real estate, maybe you are experiencing a pretty difficult real estate transaction. But don't worry, because either before, after, or on the 12th of January, this should be good. This should, you should be able to receive green light. You should be able to complete this situation. It could also be that finally money that's owed to you, you will receive a payout. Okay, maybe finally you're gonna be able to purchase something or sell something. Mars retrograde is pretty good for selling, and selling properties, selling anything small, that it's really good. And also Mars retrograde in the 2nd house could have put you in a situation where you were trying to figure out maybe what to eat, what kind of diet to have, what kind of lifestyle to have, what can you do to better yourself, and you could be going back and forth a lot with ideas, maybe going to do blood work, blood tests of any kind, maybe some kind of treatment plans, and now you're gonna be able to know exactly what's required from you, exactly what you need to be doing. And Mercury, Mercury is basically retrograde for most of January. It's going to go direct on the 18th, and it's going to be in your 9th house. So this is more of a positive influence of Mercury on you specifically. This suggests that most likely you are going to be going back and forth in terms of a trip that you want to take, for example. You maybe want to go out of the country, and you're trying to figure out all the documents. You're maybe trying to figure out the dates, when it's best to go, should you stay, should you stay there for longer, should you not? Maybe also this could be possibly a lot of communication between you and someone abroad. Doesn't have to be any kind of conflicting communication. It's just going back and forth, trying to figure things out, and so on. Maybe again gathering documents and stuff like that. After January 18th, most likely you will either be able to take that trip, to gather enough resources to take a trip, to gather enough resources to maybe go back to school if that's something that you were preparing for most of January. Maybe this is an exam, right? An exam time to pass certain tests, time to pass certain exams. time to pass some kind of job interviews. After January 18th, maybe even a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit, later than 18th, you will be able to gain that clarity to understand what your next steps are. Like, where are you going? What are you doing? Are you going back to school? Are you going abroad or something, and so on? And this could, sometimes with Mercury retrograde in the 9th house, it could maybe allow you to travel abroad, but somewhere where you've been before already. It's not a new place 100%. So that's that. After January 18th, it's gonna start feeling like a new year, that things are accomplished and things are done. Right on January 18th, we've got another aspect. We've got Sun conjuncting Pluto at 28 degrees, also in your 9th house. And this is where you could receive a major approval, for example, from authorities. You could receive that green light, maybe a visa, so you can travel. You could receive the letter from authorities, maybe from school, right? Whether you are accepted or not, whether you have passed your exam or not. This is a neutral conjunction, right? Conjunctions are neutral in a way. They are two sides of the coin. So in this case, you could receive different answers, right? You could be, yes, everything is great, let's go. Or this could be, well, maybe you have to try harder. The thing is that it's happening in your 9th house, which makes a trine to your rising sign or your sun, especially if you are a late degree Taurus. So I think that you should honestly receive good news on this day. I do believe you will receive good news from authorities, maybe from someone in charge, from someone in power, and you will be able to make that step into the new horizon, into the right direction that you've been building towards and you've been wanting to take for a very long time. Now, on January 6th of 2023, there is a full moon in Cancer opposite Mercury in your 3rd house. And full moon in Cancer tends to be emotional, right? That's like an emotional wave. Sometimes positive, sometimes not so positive. And it's happening in the 3rd house. So you may receive a very emotional piece of information, especially with the Mercury being in play here. It could be that, for example, the team project that you've been working on is finally coming to fruition, and maybe you receive the feedback, you receive some sort of a review from someone in authority. Maybe this is a difficult communication, difficult conversation with someone that you may be having. It is felt difficult at first, but then it kind of smoothed out. It's a wave of emotions at first, but then it leaves your side. It's calming energy. It could be that you may have to possibly prove yourself somehow, defend yourself somehow. Maybe there is a interview, like a job interview, that you may have to go to and defend yourself, show off your skills, right? Maybe it is the time when you have to take an exam, you have to take a test, and again, show off your skills. There's a lot of verbal energy, there's a lot of mental energy connected to this full moon, which, in this case would maybe be you conversating a lot, doing a lot of paperwork, a lot of writing possibly, maybe finally bringing the project to fruition, and it's an online project, maybe it is some kind of a website, and so on. Yeah, so I don't see it being like a negative influence on you or anything, but I do believe that there will be a lot of mental work, so I would watch out for being mentally restless around this time. And the last event that I would like to mention, on January 21st, there is a new moon in Aquarius in your 10th house. That's another big one for you. I believe that your status is changing, and your status is changing. You might see it probably in the next 6 months as a full manifestation. It could be a social status change. You've got some energies here in the 9th house. I don't know, maybe you got proposed to, and maybe now you're going to be planning a wedding, and once the wedding happens, once the legal marriage happens, your social status changes in the next 6 months. Maybe this suggests that you are going to become a parent, right? Maybe this suggests that you are going to receive a promotion, or actually detach from what you're doing altogether and maybe choose a completely different professional path. This can also be the case. But I feel like with this Aquarian new moon, You want to do something humanitarian. You want to do something that helps others, where other people are involved. You know, you kind of want to be useful to a society, to a group of people, to a certain audience. And I think this is what your focus is going to be on. Thank you so much for watching, dear Taurus. I'll see you in my next video, and now we're moving on to Gemini. Hi Gemini, I hope that you are doing well. So for your January, we've got, I would like to cover retrogrades first, since, you know, the end of the year, the end of 2022 may not quite feel like, oh, that's a, you know, a year is ending and here's this new year, and so it's so exciting, everything is left in the old year. It may not, oh, you hear that? You hear that from my old times when I lived in my small apartment. My cat would always be in the litter box, and my viewers would always listen to my cat being in the litter box. And now that I'm recording in another part of the house, you can hear that again years later. So, oh gosh. Anyway, let's not get distracted. So, you know, it may not feel like an end, right? It may feel like things are dragging, annoying things are dragging into the new year. However, January, mid-January specifically, is going to be the pivotal point. It's going to be that point where you're like, okay, I am in the new year. New things are being manifested. And it's probably not going to be felt very strongly until the 18th of January. However, after January 12th, things are going to become much easier, and that is due to Mars going direct. Mars going direct in your first house, and this, guys, is very exciting because you may have done a lot of self-work, a lot of work on yourself, especially if you are Gemini rising. You could have had a lot of accident proneness in the last couple of months. You could have had a lot of restlessness, a lot of nervous tension, a lot of conflicts possibly with others. But it could also be that maybe you've done therapy or you've done some work on yourself, some inner work. You really want to succeed and you really want to move forward with something in life. So that could be your focus for a while. And now once Mars goes direct in your first house, it's like all of the efforts that you've put in, they start giving you rewards. They start giving you fruits of your labor. All of the energy that was at some point lost in the last couple of months, it's like it's getting restored, you know, it's getting back, being put back into your body, into your soul. And that is a very exciting time, you know, a very good time to initiate new things, to bring that enthusiasm back into your life with fresh goals, with new ideas and so on, maybe with a new or renewed social circle, quite possible here. And with Mercury going direct in your 8th house, you know, again, for the duration of January, most likely you may feel like there are some misunderstandings with others. Some secrets could be coming up, you know, about other people that may or may not shock you. You may feel like also there is a lot that you have to complete in terms of taxes. Maybe you're expecting certain W-2s, something regarding your 1099, and it's late and you're frustrated because you would like to file your taxes early. Well, now after the 18th, things are gonna speed up, things are going to improve. You will be able to complete your tax work. You'll be able to maybe sort out a difficult communication, difficult situation with your partner, for example, especially if it's connected to finances. Maybe a certain awkward intimate situation may come up between you and someone else, and you will also be able to resolve that around the 18th. And actually, right on the 18th, there is a sun conjuncting Pluto at 28 degrees in your 8th house as well. And this suggests that most likely this result that you've been working towards all the way up until the 18th of January will be secured, will be confirmed, will be established somehow. It's like you will know exactly what to do after the 18th. It could be honestly a big payout, maybe through tax agency, maybe through work. Somehow you maybe didn't even do much for it, like you didn't earn it, right? but you are getting it somehow as a prize, as a payout, as something that has been owed to you, possibly by an authority, by some kind of an institution, by the government, by the bank. Okay, maybe you're gonna be approved for a loan around this time, and it is a very, very exciting time. Now, on January 6th, I'm going back a little bit. There is a full moon in Cancer opposite Mercury in your second house. So the full moon in Cancer suggests that most likely there is some kind of an emotional ending, okay? And in your second house, opposite Mercury, it is some kind of emotional news coming regarding your finances, regarding maybe the finances of your partner, or both, right? Yours and your partner's, some kind of mutual resources and finances, savings and things like that. It could be that maybe you are going to complete a certain purchase and it's emotional to you because you almost used to cling to it and now you have to let go, you have to sell it. It could maybe be that your partner or you, somebody is deciding to take a completely different route in terms of how they make money, and you may be leaving a certain source of income, or your partner may be leaving a certain source of income. There may be some miscommunication on this day. You know, do we really want to let go of this? Or do we really want to change how we make money? Do we really want to buy this? It could be you or you and someone else. But you will know, you will understand exactly what to do here. You will understand how to gather the proper resources, how to maybe invest those resources in the proper places, okay? It could be felt somewhat emotional around the time of the full moon, but you will understand that you are making the right decision later. Yes, you may receive an opposition, verbal opposition, right? Some kind of miscommunication between you and your partner or between you and the bank, but it all should go well. And, you know, the aspects that are happening later in January are proving that, okay? And the last event that I would like to mention is on January 21st, and it is a new moon in Aquarius in your 9th house. Very positive new moon for you. This suggests that most likely in the next 6 months, you're going to take a trip somewhere, possibly far away, and it's going to be a trip maybe with a group, maybe you're going to visit a certain group of people. Maybe you're going to start teaching, and you will meet an interesting kind of audience that you are going to be teaching, that you are going to be presenting to. Maybe you are going to become a student as well in the next 6 months, and it's going to be exciting. It may be something that you haven't quite done before, and you are willing to try this new skill, to learn this new skill. And overall, you know, new moons in the 9th house, they do suggest really interesting new developments, new horizons opening up. And it's really hard to pinpoint sometimes what exactly this is. A lawsuit could happen, you know, you could sue someone in the next 6 months, but I feel like this is more optimistic, you know, less burdening, and it's more like a new exciting adventure ahead. Thank you guys so much for watching, and now we're moving on to Cancer. Hi Cancer, I hope that you are doing well, and you have quite a few events happening here, but I do want to mention retrogrades first, because, you know, at the end of 2022, we may not quite feel like we are getting into this new year with fresh starts and so on. It may feel still like something is dragging from the past into 2023, unfortunately, but that's only gonna be the influence until about the 18th of January, okay? Maybe actually early, like 21st, 22nd of January, because Uranus will go direct. But, you know, the main influence that will feel like, oh yeah, we are definitely experiencing a fresh start, will be around 18th of January. But you will feel much better after January 12th. And that's due to Mars going direct in your 12th house. So when Mars was in your 12th house for the duration of a couple of months, you may have felt that you were really restless. You may have had a really hard time sleeping. Maybe you could not quite keep your mental health in check. You know, sometimes with the 12th house energies, it's really hard to focus. It's really hard to stay motivated. It's really hard to have that sharp mind working for you, unfortunately. You know, sometimes it's insomnia, it is restlessness, it is tiredness, it is exhaustion, it is sometimes depression as well. It all depends how this impacted you, but I'm talking more about Cancer rising right now. This could possibly be a difficult influence on them in the last couple of months. But now after January 12th, you notice that your sleep is improving. You notice that maybe you are not as restless, that you are actually able to relax. You may notice also that if you had a project that you were working on behind the scenes for a long time until now, is actually coming up to the surface and you're able to showcase it to the world now. And Mercury actually is gonna be in your seventh house for the duration of the month, and it will go direct finally on January 18th. And this time suggests that maybe while you were working on something behind the scenes, or maybe while you were feeling really restless, trying to kind of get things done and possibly struggling with a lot of things, you may also have had some sort of miscommunication with your loved ones, with someone that you are partnered with your colleagues, and so on. You know, it may have felt that communications with people are draining you extremely, and maybe you just cannot negotiate, you cannot find the middle ground, you know, things are frustrating. That's all gonna be done, which is great. And actually, I do want to mention that on January 18th as well, we have Sun conjuncting Pluto at 28 degrees in Capricorn, which is again your 7th house, which is also a very important time. I feel like after 18th of January, you're going to feel like all the disputes, all the arguments with others are gonna be leaving your side. You know, you're gonna feel a lot more optimistic. You're gonna feel like there are no more conflicts, or if there are any conflicts, they're not serious, right? You may feel like maybe you're able to find that middle ground with others. And it could also be that maybe either you may really impact your partner somehow and their decisions, or maybe your partner may impact you in a very powerful way that allows you to make further decisions, because it's a neutral conjunction, right? But it can be two sides of the coin. But at the same time, I believe that your cooperation with your partner and you really working on the relationship with someone here can truly be helpful and beneficial for your future goals, especially if they are of professional nature. Now I'm going back a little bit. So on January 6th of 2023, we're gonna have a full moon in Cancer in your 1st house opposite Mercury. So that's another thing here. You see, there is a lot of work between you and someone else throughout January. It's like your life, your future, your professional path depends on these collaborations or on this teamwork with someone else. It's like you need to be able to move forward, but if this person is not interacting with you enough, if this person is not cooperating with you, it may feel like it's not quite working, right? It may feel like you're the only person in the boat. You need that cooperation from someone in January. And on the day of the full moon, January 6th or so, you're going to gain that clarity, how the relationship is going to go, where it's going to go, right? If it's a negotiation, if it's a court case, if it's some kind of partner work professionally, you're going to be waiting for that answer. And most likely, throughout the month, right, that answer will come around January 18th. That is what I would say could be the case here. And then on January 21st, we have a new moon in Aquarius in your 8th house. So this one allows you to take out a loan if you want, allows you to get a mortgage, allows you to buy a car in the next 6 months, whatever you want to do, right? It also allows you to dive deep into a very personal, intimate almost like a secretive kind of relationship with someone. It could be that maybe you're gonna share a secret with someone, and based on that point, when you share a secret, and your relationship may start unfolding, may start developing for the next 6 months because you share a secret. It could also be that maybe you are going to receive a loan, like I said, apply for a loan, get approved for a loan maybe, or possibly start a new spiritual practice. It could be the case. It could be something that you find so interesting, you find so fascinating, and it could be, for example, a spiritual practice, and you're going to want to discover more about it. You're going to want to do your research, and this is what you could be doing for the next 6 months, guys. It could also bring you someone that wants to express their secrets to you, and it's like now you are involved with someone because of something that they have shared with you. It could also possibly be some sort of new intimate relationship that you may involve yourself in, or maybe it can be therapy, for example, if for some of people that are struggling, for example, with depression or any kind of traumas, this could be a good 6 months to find the right therapist, the right professional, and start your treatment. Thank you guys so much for watching, and now we're moving on to Leo. Hi Leo, I hope that you are doing well. So I would like to start with the retrogrades, because with the retrogrades it may feel like when 2022 is ending, it's not actually ending, like the problems still remain with us and we take them into 2023. It's all because we do truly have some energies that are not quite ready to end in 2022, but they will end in January 2023, which is nice, you know, because we don't have to wait like another 6 months or so. They are going to end, and I would say that pivotal point is around January 18th. But the first one is January 12th. This is when you're going to start feeling a little bit of easier influence, and that is because Mars will go direct in your 11th house. I would say that if you had to cooperate somehow with groups of people, with a new group, if you felt like you were thrown to the wolves and or sharks, and you felt like you needed to defend yourself somehow in the last couple of months, you felt like maybe you didn't belong in a certain group, maybe you felt like you were misunderstood, maybe you and your friend shared a really weird, lots of misunderstandings, lots of disputes. Now it's actually going to feel much easier. You may feel like you actually belong to this group now. You may change groups. You may change any kind of, it could be groups, like departments where you work. It could be teams, right? It could be even clubs, some kind of club, interest clubs, you know what I mean? Like social circles. There may be this green light, it's like, okay, I was working on something here behind the scenes for quite some time, but now I can actually take it further from one group to another, or maybe this group project is coming to fruition now after January 12th. Now with Mercury, it's a similar story. Mercury is transiting your 6th house during the month of January and will go retrograde on January 18th. This is the time when, if there are any kind of miscommunications with people at work, they may feel extremely frustrating before the 12th of January, less frustrating until January 18th, and no longer frustrating after January 18th. Of course, responsibilities will remain responsibilities, duties will remain duties. But at the same time, with Mercury going direct there, it's like, okay, so whatever I want to say to my bosses, management, or maybe people that I manage, whatever I want to say to them, I can say with ease now. I can actually get it to their heads. There is no miscommunication. There are no disputes there. Things are not delayed. If there are any deadlines, they are being actually filled, right? If there are any delays in terms of payments, Now everybody's getting paid on time and things like that. It could also be that maybe you've been frustrated or trying to run around and gather certain paperwork for some kind of health examinations. Maybe you've been trying to find the right doctor. Maybe you felt like, honestly, you could not get on the same page with certain doctors. After 18th, you can find the right doctor, or you can tone down any kind of conflicts, disputes with the existing doctors and so on. And I would like to say that on January 18th, right on the day when Mercury goes direct, there is also a Sun conjuncting Pluto energy at 28 degrees of Capricorn in your 6th house as well. That happens once a year, and that is a pretty significant aspect, right? Conjunction is neutral, meaning that it's two sides of the coin. However, what I think is nice here is that after this process of Mercury going retrograde and then going direct in your 6th house, and then this powerful conjunction in the 6th house right on the same day, you get noticed, you receive some kind of news, you receive some kind of green light, possibly from authorities, from someone that is in charge at your work. And from managers, right, from anybody that you kind of depend on, possibly. Of course, it depends on what you've done prior to this. You know, sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenging influence, right? For example, if a person has been slacking or trying to kind of get themselves in trouble, because you don't want to get in trouble with Pluto. But at the same time, you know, this can also be the day when you find out, for example, your diagnosis, and now you know exactly what to do and how to treat it. You may find out what is happening at your work. Maybe an authority could be getting fired or leaving around this time, or maybe they could, you know, recognize you and maybe even give you a promotion or something. There is a boost here. There is definitely a boost here. Now, I am going back in time to January 6th, and I would like to talk about full moon in Cancer opposite Mercury in your 12th house. This energy is interesting because every time full moons in the 12th house happen, it feels like, you know, you're done working behind the scenes. Maybe for the last 6 months you were working behind the scenes. You know, you were trying to make something come to perfection, come to fruition, and you could not quite showcase it to the world yet. But now with this full moon in Cancer, you're able to actually showcase it. You're able to get out there, be in the spotlight, you know, and that will probably happen in the next, you know, 6-ish months. But you're able to actually be seen somehow, be noticed, and you are excited about that because you no longer have to hide yourself or your project. This could also be a culmination of a certain trip abroad, maybe. You're either ready to submit the documents abroad or for immigration, or you're ready to come home, or you're ready to leave home, you know, for the other country, for example. That could be the case. But with the opposition to Mercury, it's like emotional information, emotional attachment that has to be discussed somehow, that has to be expressed, and maybe it's like you are completing something that you have been emotionally attached to, and it's like logic versus emotions. You know, you have to maybe go with your logic this time around and try and make logical decisions rather than emotional around this time. And the last event that I would like to mention for you is a new moon in Aquarius in your 7th house on January 21st. And this one is actually, I would say that this one is an optimistic one for you. Well, there is some kind of a new development happening between you and someone else. It could be a business proposition, it could be a engagement, it could be like a marriage, like a wedding or something. It could be possibly some kind of an interesting, eccentric person coming your direction, and it's someone that maybe it's, you know, not your type, or someone that you've never dated anybody like that, for example. But this can also be some kind of a venture between you and someone else, where you are like business partners, where you're going all in and will be working on for the next 6 months. Sometimes this brings pregnancy, okay, conception. Sometimes it brings a sale or a purchase, sometimes like of something big, for example. Sometimes it also can promise a move. So it's hard for me to say what exactly is going to play out for you here, but just know that it is going to connect not just to you, but also to someone else. It's a new beginning between you and someone else rather than just for you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and now we're moving on to Virgo. Hi Virgo, I hope that you are doing well. So I would like to start this reading with the retrogrades, because 2022, it may not, the end of 2022 may not feel like it's ending on the best note. It may feel like certain baggage is still being dragged into the new year, and it's true, because we will have 2 retrograde planets, personal planets, in 2022 and in I want to say throughout most of January of 2023. However, the pivotal point, the turning point, happens on January 18th. This is when both of these planets go direct. So let's start with Mars on January 12th. Once Mars goes direct in your 10th house, the frustration at work, the annoyances at work may not be hitting so close to heart anymore. It could be that you may have witnessed in the last couple of months how people are raging at work. They're unhappy with something at work. Bosses are raging at work. You are raging at work. It could be that maybe you've been working on something for a while, behind the scenes, and you can't quite take it to the surface yet. You couldn't quite present it yet, You were building it up, you were working on it, but it wasn't the time to shine yet. Now, after January 12th, and especially after January 18th, this will be your time to shine. This will be your time to showcase your talents, your skills, and maybe get a promotion or a new job altogether, depending on what you've been working on for the last couple of months. And same story with Mercury, but Mercury goes direct in your 5th house. And it seems like for most of January until the 18th, it could be that you had so much to do, your mind was so active that maybe you couldn't find time for joy. You couldn't find time to maybe spend with your children. You constantly had to either study, or work, or maybe there was a situation that was pending kind of over your head like a dark cloud, and you had to gather all the resources, you had to gather all the information, all the documents, and you were just really busy. But now that Mercury goes direct, you are able to actually breathe out, and you're able to take that time for yourself, go do something fun, celebrate, relax, go hang out with your child, something, right? Also, this could be maybe preparations to launch your own business, or something like a hobby that's turned into a source of income, because we have Mars going direct in your career house. Mercury goes direct in your house of your own business. So if that's relevant to you, this could be the time. And especially I want to mention also January 18th. It will be the day when Sun conjuncts Pluto. That happens, once a year at 28 degrees of Capricorn. And that's also impacting your 5th house. So this could also be that powerful point when things launch, when things start happening, when things take off the ground in a very powerful way for you. It could even be the day that you will remember for the year ahead, that's a pivotal point in January. And I think it could be a very exciting time for your business, for your relationship with children. Maybe an authority will somehow notice you or approve something for you, give you a green light, and so on. Pretty exciting. Even if you are not a Virgo rising, if you are a Virgo sun, especially a late degree Virgo sun, this could be a very, very nice energy here. Now, on January 6th, I'm going back in time. Full moon in Cancer will happen in your 11th house, opposing Mercury. So in this case, I would say that there is some kind of an emotional ending. Emotional information, emotional piece of information may be coming around regarding a group that you belong to, regarding maybe a friendship, regarding a certain person in your social circle, or some kind of a environment where it's you and other people working on the same goal. It's like an end, you know, it's an end to it, and it's an emotional end in a way, because maybe you were attached to it emotionally, maybe you kind of, you know, got used to it, it became your comfort zone, but it seems like it's time to say goodbye. And it could be maybe time to say goodbye to a friend that might be moving. This is how it played out for me one time. I had a full moon in the 11th house. My friend moved states for work. Still friends, just she doesn't live here anymore. And, you know, that could be kind of possibly, you know, a situation that could be sad, right? But at the same time, it's not like the end of the world, and it's not the end of the friendship. So for everybody, this could be different energy. With the opposition to Mercury, it may feel a little bit mentally taxing. It can feel like there's still a lot of information that is there. It's like there's still some kind of piece of information that you're waiting for, or it's not enough clarity. Well, you will receive all of that clarity around January 18th. Okay, so January 6th, that's the ending, and then all the leftovers, if there are any, they're also going to be gone after January 18th. And the last event I would like to mention, it is a new moon in Aquarius in your 6th house on January 21st. Again, it's almost like some kind of a new lifestyle, new routine that will be active for the next 6 months at least. You know, that's something that you're going to get used to for the next 6 months, and it could be a completely new lifestyle, a lifestyle that you've never had before, a lifestyle that is not familiar to you. It's eccentric almost. It's like out of your comfort zone, and yet you're excited about it. If you've never tried your own business, this is your time. You know, this is your time possibly to launch it after January, mid-January, and you will see the fruits of its labor that it's going to bring to you for the next few months. You are maybe starting to work from home now. You never worked from home. Now you're going to work from home. Maybe it is some kind of new management, new department, new team of people that you might be working with. Or maybe it's a completely new job overall. It could be that you may start a workout routine, exercise routine, right? Some kind of a healthy dieting routine that is beneficial for you. You know, that's something that you've been waiting for to start, and now here you are, you're starting that. Very interesting month, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and now I'm moving on to Libra. Hi Libra, hope that you're doing well. So for you guys, I would like to mention retrogrades first, because they are, you know, because of them, the end of 2022 may feel like this isn't quite an end to our problems, to certain things. You know, they could be still dragging into 2023, and it may not feel like a fresh new start. Like we all want to feel like we are starting fresh towards the end of the year, but it's not the case with 2022, I'm sorry. However, January, specifically around January 18th of 2023, will be the pivotal point when you will feel that finally things are shifting into the new year. Finally, we are in the new year. Finally, we're on the fresh page. And that is due to two planets going direct, Mars and Mercury. So on January 12th, Mars will go direct in your 9th house. And this one is a positive influence for you, because maybe in the last couple of months you were actively learning something. You were going back and forth and trying to maybe study, trying to perfect something in terms of your knowledge, in terms of your skills, in terms of your wisdom. Maybe you had a trip abroad, and it could have been possibly a difficult trip a little bit, you know, or maybe it could be somewhat of an easy one, but you had to be active there. You couldn't just relax. You had to do something abroad. It was like a lot of action that you needed to take. Sorry, I'm still congested like 2 weeks later. It could be also that maybe you were getting ready for some kind of an exam. And now, after January 12th, you're able to pass that exam. You are able to actually move forward. You're able to move. You're able to travel. You're able to possibly get on the next level in terms of your studies, and so on. And maybe, for example, if you were getting ready to go to court, for example, right? This is the time when you are gonna be either sent a letter or things are gonna start moving forward with your court case. Same goes for Mercury. You know, Mercury goes direct on January 18th in your 4th house. And this is also a pretty important time because for most of January until the 18th, you may feel like there are a lot of miscommunications at home. You know, there are a lot of documents to sort out. It could be that if you live with your parents, you may notice that they are experiencing a lot of nervous tension, a lot of tasks, a lot of responsibilities. You may feel like you've got a lot of tasks and responsibilities if you've got your own family and you're running around and having to get a lot of stuff done. And it's almost like you have to remodel, redo something, you have to get some kind of a paper that you didn't even know existed, and so on. It could be that maybe you are preparing to move, or you are preparing to sell your place, or you're planning to rent it out, and so on. Now, after January 18th, it's much easier. It's not just said and done, it's actually done. And there are no more miscommunications with family members. The energy at home isn't as sporadic, isn't as restless. And actually on January 18th, there is gonna be an aspect between Sun and Pluto. It's going to be a conjunction and 28 degrees of Capricorn in your 4th house. And this one actually can bring a very powerful development to your home, to your private life. So for example, I don't know, you placed your house on the market and it's gonna be bought in cash, you know, like there's some kind of power behind this. It's a once a year transit, which means that most likely we will remember this day, or we will remember this month a year from now, because around this time something significant happens, either within our family or within our home, within our living conditions. If you are, for example, going through immigration, because 4th house to me is immigration as well, like citizenship interviews and things like that, this is when it could be finally done, confirmed, a letter received, a new status received, and so on. It could be the time where you're dealing with authorities and you have to prove yourself somehow, you have to defend yourself. But I think, to be honest with you, it's going to be a positive development for you. Now, going back in time a little bit, to January 6th, we have a full moon in Cancer opposite Mercury, and that's happening in your 10th house. So I feel like there is a lot changing, guys. There is a lot changing in terms of your living conditions and your work, and it's like, what do I want to do in the world? Do I want to maybe be focused more on my private life, on my family life? Do I want to maybe start a family? Or do I want to keep kind of hustling and, you know, develop professionally? Continue climbing that ladder. What do I want to do this year? Or what do I want to do this month? And there is some kind of an emotional ending in regards to your profession or in regards to your work, with the opposition to Mercury, right? So some kind of emotional piece of information you could receive about your professional developments. It's the kind of emotional news, or I should say it's something regarding your career that you got used to. That you got used to emotionally, that you got kind of in your comfort zone there. Well, it's time to let go of that comfort zone. It's time to possibly turn on your logic and go for something that makes more sense, rather than something that you just emotionally are connected to. For example, I mean, this is just a ridiculous example. I don't know, maybe for someone it's a true example, but for example, you work in the department with someone that you really like, with a group of people that you like, you're emotionally comfortable there, but now you are receiving possibly a promotion that you worked really, really hard for, but you have to be moved to a different department, to people that maybe either you're neutral towards, or maybe you're not a big fan of them, or maybe these are completely new people. And it's like you are leaving behind something that maybe you have kept in your heart for a while. But now you are ready to move towards something that makes more sense, something that brings more money, for example, something that brings you a new title, something that is somehow beneficial for your developments and future career developments, right? So I believe this is how it looks. And it starts out around January 6th. You start noticing that difference, and it completely goes in full force on January 18th or so. So the beginning of the month, something is culminating there, you are saying your goodbyes, and on January 18th or so, starting January 18th, you are entering some kind of a new direction in terms of your career, in terms of your public image, possibly your status, and it's impacting your personal life in a way too, you know, because while you are making those changes, they are impacting your schedule, they are impacting time with your family, and maybe actually benefiting them, you know, maybe they could. And the last event that I would like to mention is happening on January 21st. That is a new moon in Aquarius in your 5th house. New moon in the 5th house is a positive influence for you. This could bring a romantic interest in case if you are single, a romantic interest that is very unique, very out of your comfort zone almost. It's like you've never necessarily dealt with someone like that, you know, you've never met someone like that, it's not the type that you typically go for, and it could be an interesting story for the next 6 months that could somehow impact your life. Of course, new moon in Aquarius can suggest children, right? It could be conception, it could be a birth of a child. And it could be, you know, honestly, January could revolve around that, because there is some energy happening in the 4th house, some energy happening in the 10th house. It's like your status is changing, like your social status or your role is changing. So that could be a possibility. Also, if you do have children, some kind of developments in their lives that are positive, that are maybe a little bit different from what you're normally used to, but you are welcoming the changes, you're welcoming this futuristic energy almost in your child's life. It's like it's time for change. And maybe if you always wanted to work from home, this is the time, Libra. This is the time to work from home. This is the time to launch that business in the next 6 months. And it's exciting, it is something new to you, and you are willing to move forward with it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and now we're moving on to Scorpio. Hi Scorpio, I hope that you are doing well, and I would like to start my reading with retrogrades, because the end of 2022 may not quite feel like you know, an ending and a fresh new start from January 1st of 2023. It may feel like the burdens, the difficulties that we are experiencing right now are going to be dragged with us back or forward into 2023. Okay, so my camera died and I apologize. Now, that means that we are actually going to start experiencing a shift around 18th of January, because both Mars and Mercury are going to finally go direct. And Mars is first. On January 12th, Mars goes retrograde in your 8th house, and that is a relief. Let's just put it that way. I feel like Mars in the 8th house could have pinpointed a very frustrating, a very difficult situation in your life. It could have been an issue for a while now. And it almost seemed impossible to avoid with this particular energy. And it could be that maybe you were working on releasing that crisis out of your life, maybe getting rid of a difficult situation out of in your life around this time. But now, January 12th, Mars is going to go direct there, which means that any kind of issues, any kind of difficulties that may still be there. Maybe it is a financial struggle, maybe it is a health struggle, maybe it is a very toxic relationship in your life. Whatever this crisis means for you, it's going to have a resolution after January 12th, but maybe even after January 18th, when Mercury goes direct in your third house. Mercury in the third house, that's a very traditional, Mercury retrograde. This usually suggests that you may have a lot of miscommunications with maybe your colleagues, your family, your siblings sometimes, or neighbors, but I tend to think it's more of a colleagues/friends type of situation, sometimes family, and it is all about, things breaking, phone not working, computer not working, something's freezing constantly. That is a very traditional Mercury retrograde. But now when it goes direct, I believe that all of those issues are going to no longer bother you. The computer will be working, or it will be fixed. The relationship between you and others is also going to improve, because there won't be so many disputes, so many misunderstandings between you and others. And on January 18th, actually, it's a pretty big day, because Sun will conjunct Pluto at 28 degrees Capricorn, which also will happen in your third house. And, it happens once a year. It's an important time. And I believe that this day can be remembered by you for a while. This can be the day when you receive a license, when you receive some kind of a document, when you receive an approval. And powerful people are connected to this approval, to this green light, to this letter that you may receive, to this message. It comes from powerful people, from a institution of some kind, government, work, right, school, and so on. But it's definitely the news that holds a lot of weight for you, and this is what is going to give you that green light to move forward with your paperwork, with your communications, with your website, with your education, and your work, and so on and so forth. Now, moving back to January 6th, okay, the beginning of the month, there will be a full moon in Cancer opposite Mercury in your 9th house. And this is a good full moon for you. It is completing a certain task. You are almost emotionally connected to this task that you are completing. And it could be a project in school. It could be school altogether that you are completing. Maybe, you've been working really hard, but now it's time to let go. Now it's time to say goodbye. Now it's time to move forward, right? Maybe more school, maybe work. And for students especially, this could be the time of exams, the time of preparation for exams, and so on, because Mercury will oppose this full moon. And especially after January 18th, you will be able to see the results, right? The results of those tests and exams, the results of your actions. And maybe, for example, if you've been ready to go abroad, if you've been ready to come home from abroad, if you've been gathering different documents, again, now it is the time that you're going to start seeing the results of your actions. You're going to start seeing visa approvals. You're going to be going to immigration interviews, and so on. So that is, I would say, a pretty nice energy. It's a green light for sure. And the last event that I would like to mention is new moon in Aquarius in your 4th house on January 21st. So with new moon in Aquarius, there is some kind of new eccentric energy coming to your home, and it could be felt out of your comfort zone at first. For example, there is some kind of a new venture that you are going to start for the next 6 months from home, and it's just something that you're not quite used to. Maybe you're used to going to work, and now you have to work from home for the next 6 months, or maybe you are starting your own thing and you're adapting, kind of adjusting to this new lifestyle. There's a new addition to the family, possibly, that is very significant, something totally new, something that you could not possibly expect. And overall, new energies within the home, within the living conditions. I feel like maybe this could be new home for some that are trying to, for example, get situated in a different country, who are trying to maybe change the environment, change the neighborhood, change the state or a country, right? It is a new moon for those that just whatever their comfort zone is, they want a different comfort zone now, and they're getting out of their comfort zone to have a new one. I know it's tricky, but I think you know what I mean. It's like, in order to get to that place that makes you feel at home, makes you feel great, you may have to get out of your comfort zone. You may have to move, for example, you know, you may have to move in with someone, or maybe move out on your own. You know, depends on what a comfort zone is to people. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and now I'm moving on to Sagittarius. Hi Sagittarius, I hope that you are doing well. Okay, so I would like to start with the retrogrades for you, because the end of the year, the end of 2022 may not quite feel as if we are starting this fresh new chapter. It may feel like we're still dragging our problems into 2023. Why? Because we've got some retrogrades going on there, and the good news is that January, especially 18th of January or so, will be that pivotal point when all the planets go direct, or two of them, and things start finally moving forward and feel like a fresh new start. So one of them is Mars. On January 12th, it goes direct in your 7th house. And that suggests that you are most likely going to finally come to some sort of agreement with someone. When it was going back and forth in your 7th house until January 12th, it could have felt like that conversations go back and forth. You cannot find that middle ground, that you feel that constant opposition from the person or from the social group, from your colleagues. Maybe it's really hard to negotiate. Maybe there is so much that needs to be done behind the scenes in order to negotiate, in order to present, for example, this set of documents to court or to work or whatever this may be, right? It's like, could have been some sort of teamwork that you were involved in, but it was very difficult. You know, it's like a lot of things just were not where they should be, were not aligning how they should have, and so on. But now, after January 12th, you will be able to find a lot more compromise with your partners, a lot more ease in communications and negotiations, and you may be able to kind of land a certain deal, a certain job here, you know, that could be really nice. And Mercury has the same similar story in your 2nd house. So with Mercury going direct in your 2nd house until January 18th, when it was retrograde, it could be that you were gathering, oh my gosh, a lot of different resources to be able to make a major purchase, to be able to maybe make some sort of a deal with someone, financial deal, negotiate possibly, and so on. It almost seems like there is some kind of an important transaction that Sagittarius is dealing with generally in January. And it could be, like, obviously a financial transaction, you know, very difficult one, possibly very long lasting one. And now Mercury going direct in the 2nd house, finally something is approved, you receive a green light, you know, maybe you get that loan, maybe you are able to place a certain offer, maybe the financial deal on your house is finally coming through and you're selling it, right? Some kind of a payout coming through, a prize coming through, a raise coming through that you worked so hard to get. So that is really good, right? But also on January 18th, we're going to have Sun conjuncting Pluto at 28 degrees Capricorn in your 2nd house. And that is another, I want to say, significant influence, because with the Sun conjuncting Pluto, that's two sides of the coin, right? That is not necessarily good or bad. It's more neutral, right? And it's going to play out differently for everyone depending on what they've been working on. And I would say that it's a very substantial, it could be a substantial piece of news that you may receive regarding a property, for example, regarding work, regarding your paychecks, how your paychecks are going to be structured now. It's like an authority speaking to you. It's speaking, or they are speaking to you, and you now have clarity in terms of how to move forward, what you should be doing, and so on. You will remember this day because it happens once a year. You most likely will remember this day. You will know what to do next and how to maybe organize your resources or what to do with the investments and things like that. It could be a month of different financial dealings and powerful investments as well. And I would like to actually go back to January 6th, and because there is going to be a full moon in Cancer opposite Mercury in your 8th house. And this full moon suggests that most likely, again, some kind of a deal, financial deal may come to fruition. But there is an emotional ending to the situation, an emotional goodbye almost. And it's opposing your logic. It's like, why should I be clinging to this? You know, I should just be saying goodbye. I need to use my logic. I need to do what makes more sense to me. But we are humans and we do get attached to certain things sometimes, or maybe to certain people. It could be, you know, on one level, it could be maybe you saying goodbye to a relationship that had complete control over you, you know, but now you are like almost like your own person. You're able to act, you're able to do the things that you want to do, and nobody can control you now. And even though emotionally maybe you were attached to this person, attached to this situation, but now it's time to say goodbye and move on your own path. On the other hand, this can suggest that maybe it is a time for your transformation to finally be ending and showing you the fruits of your labor, you know, the transformation rewards at the end. So it's like, this is what is happening in my life. This is how I am getting rewarded for all of that transformational work that I've done. Emotionally, it can be a little wavy, but then you understand that it's all done for a reason. There can also be an end to a, like I said, financial deal, right? Closing on a house, for example, you know, getting a mortgage and stuff like that. Selling something, you know, you could be selling something and emotionally you are attached to that property, attached to whatever that is, right? But it's okay. It's okay to say goodbye. And the last event that I would like to mention is happening on January 21st. It is a new moon in Aquarius in your 3rd house. And this is the time, or I should say the next 6 months, to engage in some kind of a fun project, to learn a new skill. First of all, you can get very curious about something. And this curiosity is connected to something that you've never tried before. It's something very unique. Something that maybe you've considered in the past but never had time for, or didn't feel like it would be inside of your comfort zone to do. But now with all the transformations that are happening, with all the green lights are happening, and possibly you having resources to do this, it's like you are maybe trying a new course. You are learning a new skill, maybe on your own, learning a language, getting a license, getting some kind of a document in the next 6 months. They can be very helpful for your future. And it's, like I said, something new to you, something that you've never actually tried before. So that is it. I mean, there could also be actually a new acquaintance, new eccentric acquaintance that you may meet in the next 6 months that could be very, very that could play a major role in your life and that could somehow help you. That is it, dear Sagittarius. Thank you so much for watching, and now we're moving on to Capricorn. Hi Capricorn, I hope that you are doing well and happy birthday to you. So I would like to start with the retrogrades because, you know, with the retrogrades, we feel like 2022 is ending on a note where there is no end. It's like all of our problems and all of the issues that we've encountered late, 2022, they're being kind of dragged into the new year with us. There's no feeling of a new fresh chapter. Well, that feeling is going to last until about the 18th of January, and then after that, it is going to go away. Okay, so that is great. Why? Because Mars and Mercury will both go direct. Mars goes direct on January 12th in your 6th house. It could be that, for example, for the last couple of months or so, you could be kind of going back and forth in terms of your health. You weren't sure maybe what treatment to start using. You weren't sure what doctor to go to. You weren't sure what was more beneficial for you. Yoga in the mornings or maybe a gym. Maybe, you didn't know what kind of diet is suitable for example, a condition that you have. It could be going back and forth. It could also be sometimes overworking yourself. You know, this is Mars retrograde. Unfortunately, the negative side of it in the 6th house is when we think we can do too much. We think we can do all of these things at once, and we end up overstimulating ourselves and possibly sometimes getting physical injuries, sometimes feeling extremely exhausted. Many different things could be happening here, but also maybe overwhelming amount of work, or overwhelming amount of work and responsibilities and duties. But now after January 12th, things are normalizing. You finally are ready to take on the lifestyle that is more active, but also something that makes sense, something that does not overwhelm you and your schedule. When it comes to work, the disputes at work, overwhelming amount of work, it's all kind of normalizing and leveling out. And you feel like maybe there's a lot more communication rather than miscommunication between authorities and you, between other people, between people that you manage at work, and so on. And same goes for Mercury, but Mercury actually goes direct in your 1st house. And that here, 18th, did I say that? January 18th. And that means that, you know, you could have done a lot of mental work in like basically the whole month of January. You know, you could have gone back and forth in terms of what do I want from this relationship? What do I want from my life? What do I want? How do I better myself? What do I do in terms of my future goals? Like, you know, is there something I need to work on? You could have done maybe some therapy. You could have done some spiritual work even, possibly. You could have maybe talked to a friend or tried to level out communication with someone that is important to you. You know, you could have done all of those things. But now, starting January 18th, you feel like your mind is clear. You feel like your mind is sharp. You feel like everybody listens to you now. Nobody's trying to like oppose you with opinions and so on. You feel like you're aligning with people and they're aligning with you on the same page, and you start moving forward. And it's especially noticeable on January 18th because Sun will conjunct Pluto at 28 degrees in your 1st house. Why do I have 2nd house here? Just a moment. So that suggests that most likely, especially if you're a late degree Capricorn, that suggests a very powerful development between you and someone else. It's almost like a collaboration of a lifetime between you and someone else, or a collaboration of a year. It's like it could be concluding a certain situation, certain work that you've done in 2022, or it could actually be a start of a new cycle between you possibly or someone else, or it's your cycle, your personal cycle that's starting, but it will impact an audience, it will impact others, it will impact people that see you on the daily. There is something transforming within you in a major way. It is an extremely important day. You gaining so much clarity about yourself, about your life, about your future goals. You understanding that all of the transformations that you have encountered in your life, all the people that left your life, all the people that came into your life, it all starts making sense now in January, late January. Okay, and if it hasn't in the last years, but it's definitely a powerful, very powerful time. And it's also the time to prioritize yourself, I believe, to boost your own authority, to become your own authority, and you will be given a green light to do that. Now, I want to go back in time. I want to go back to January 6th. We're going to have a full moon in Cancer opposing Mercury in your 7th house. So these disputes, you know, between you and others, possibly misunderstandings, trying to understand who to take into the future with you, who to leave, trying to see how you can impact others or how others can impact you, or how your life could better itself. You know, the answers could start coming in the beginning of January. They will, I believe, materialize around January 18th, but they will start showing up around January 6th with the full moon in Cancer in the 7th house. It could be that there is something that you are extremely emotionally attached to between you and someone else. And it's time to say goodbye to that cycle. and it's time to move forward. And it could be, sorry, my nose, I cannot breathe through my nose. It could be that maybe the person that you are dealing with wants you to either hold on or wants you to do something for them, but you, on the other hand, you're needing to use your logic. You're needing to, maybe even through conflicts, through some kind of dispute, you need to move forward here. You need to leave the cycle behind, because if you don't leave the cycle behind, it will leave itself behind, right, regardless. And this is also a very transformational time. You know, it's time to be able to let go of something that maybe you are emotionally connected to, but maybe it's just something that no longer serves you. And logic can chime in here, you know, and try and contradict kind of the emotional side that is also very much active in this. Emotions, logic, you know, mind, logic, mind, emotions, everything is mixed. But you will be able to step onto some kind of a new level here by completing something old that no longer serves you, something from 2022. And, you know, I find that new moons and full moons in the 1st and 7th houses, they tend to bring anything like pregnancies, you know, children. They tend to bring marriages, divorces. They tend to bring sales of a house, purchase of a house, moving, new careers, you know, anything that a person is really considering life-changing can actually happen after those, under those, we would think, regular full moons and new moons. So watch out, you know, something big could happen here. And the last event that I would like to mention is happening on January 21st. It is a new moon in Aquarius in your 2nd house. So time to gather your resources, time to invest, time to make money in a new way. It seems like you're shedding the old skin, yes, even though it's happening in January, not so much in the 2022, right? It's happening in the new year, but yet you are understanding exactly what's required from you, and it has to be a new way of doing things, new way of making money, new way of investing, new things to invest into, and so on. So the next 6 months, starting January 21st, will be all focused around your resources, your finances, how to make them right, how to make more, or how to invest. And it's also going to be a major time for your self-worth, because you're going to make sure that you live in a way that aligns with your self-worth, that makes you feel good about yourself, whether it's your health, whether it's your work, whether it's people that surround you. All of those things are going to be very, very relevant. Okay, you're going to do great, dear Capricorn. Thank you so much for watching, and now we're moving on to Aquarius. Hi Aquarius, I hope that you are doing well. Happy early birthday to you. So I would like to start with the retrogrades, because 2022, you know, the way it's ending, it's not actually ending on this like fresh note, you know, where we are closing all the chapters and we're welcoming the new year, we're welcoming all these new cycles. Not quite yet. That month is going to be January, specifically January 18th. But Mars will go direct on January 12th, and Mercury will go direct on January 18th, which will kind of finally give us that sense of, okay, so the old is ending, the old is truly ending. And Mars is first, right? Like I said, January 12th. It goes direct in your 5th house. That's a nice placement for Mars to be in, you know? I mean, it depends. Mars retrograde in the 5th house can sometimes, unfortunately, create conflict between you and your children, especially if they're older and they've got something to say. You know, this can be some conflicting energy between you and them. It's like they rebel against the authority in some way. On the other hand, this can be you maybe preparing something behind the scenes for your creative projects, for your own business. It could be that you worked really, really hard, and maybe you were trying to perfect it somehow, but it wasn't the right time to launch it yet. It wasn't the right time for it to be seen yet. But now it will be after January 12th. There may be a tricky romantic situation, maybe a lot of arguments, maybe a lot of misunderstandings between you and their romantic partner. Again, you know, this can be the time after January 12th when you meet in the middle, when you understand now whether or not you want to make this person your romantic partner, or you just still want to kind of date them casually without any strings attached. It could be that the conflict between you and your children, potential conflict, right, can finally get resolved around this time. And all of the creative projects, business projects, or maybe the times when you have to shine on stage, you know, and present yourself somehow, you will be able to do that with success. Now, Mercury will go direct in your 12th house, and that happens on January 18th. This is the time when things really start speeding up, and this is the time when you're really gonna shine and really gonna be in the spotlight, and will really need to have that confidence to move forward and to showcase your skills. Because when Mercury goes direct in the 12th house, there is no more kind of going back and forth with your thoughts, not speaking out loud, but more like thinking. You know, this is actually speaking up. This is speaking out loud. This is definitely being involved and being heard. And before, you know, the 18th, maybe you were preparing something. Maybe you were learning something, heavily studying something. Maybe you've got some kind of a public speaking to do, and you were preparing the notes, right? Maybe it could be that you were gathering certain documents behind the scenes until the 18th. But now, once 18th hits, everything is gonna go forward. Things are no longer gonna be delayed. You will probably do some public speaking if it's relevant to you, or you will probably be able to kind of get your point across and be able to maybe even win an argument. And especially it could be important on January 18th again, when Sun conjuncts Pluto at 28 degrees in your 12th house in Capricorn. That could be the time when you really need to prove your own authority. That could be the time when authorities want to hear from you. And this is the time to really come out, you know, come out of the dark. Come out of that gestational period. Give birth to something. Something that authorities can see, can somehow favor, can somehow review, judge, whatever this may be. And it could be, for example, an immigration interview, you know, that you may come to. It could be a project that has been long behind the scenes and now it's out and now you're presenting it to your bosses. It could also be a lot of internal transformation. You know, your thoughts were all over the place, you were very restless, and now January 18th and onward, you know exactly what to do about a specific situation in your life that I personally don't know about, right? And I do want to go back to January 6th because there will be a full moon in Cancer opposite Mercury in your 6th house. And it may be connected to your duties, to your lifestyle. It may be something that is shifting there within your lifestyle. And it's like you possibly are preparing some kind of a new foundation behind the scenes. So that way you can change the lifestyle that everybody sees, right? Maybe there is something connected to work. Maybe you were working from home for a while and now you're going back to the office. Maybe, for example, you had a certain set of duties and responsibilities, but now you're going to have a new set of duties and responsibilities. It is, however, something that you're kind of emotionally attached to. And it's something that you have to let go of and listen to your logic over your emotions. And that can sometimes be slightly difficult for people, but at the same time, it is the direction that you need to take to better your lifestyle, to better your schedule, to start some kind of a new chapter in your life later. And I believe that around January 6th, you're going to kind of see where this is taking you, this end of a certain responsibility. And then after January 18th, you'll be like, I see. I know where to be headed now. And it could be possibly connected to your health. You know, for example, if you are dealing with your health, around January 6th, you could receive some sort of a treatment plan, you could receive some sort of a diagnosis, and around January 18th and onward, you could really start taking care of it and actually better your health at any cost. On January 21st, there is a new moon in your first house, guys, and this one is important, and I believe this is the one that's gonna allow you to shine bright for the next 6 months and to truly, to show who you truly are and what you're capable of. Because all this work, all this preparation behind the scenes right now, it's making you restless, and it's making you possibly nervous, and it's making you feel like that's all you're doing. You're doing behind the scenes work, but when are you actually going to be able to see the results? Well, in the next 6 months, you will see the results. You will be able to, let's say if you're trying to move, you will be able to move in the next 6 months. You will be able to have a relationship, for example, especially, new moon in the first house. It does kind of touch on the 7th house, where maybe there is a new beginning between you and someone else, and you are almost like this team of people that are now working together towards the same goal. That can be felt that way. It's the time to really perfect a certain skill, maybe, or a certain duty, something, and show it to the world, and expand in a certain environment. And I cannot say that, oh, this is something totally new that you have to do, something totally innovative that you have to do, because you already know it. You know that in order to make progress, you have to come up with something futuristic, something innovative. And maybe this is what you were working on until now, until late January. And starting late January, January 21st specifically, you will put it into action. Thank you guys so much for watching, and now we're moving on to Pisces. Hi Pisces, I hope that you are doing well. Finally, we got to our sign. So I want to start with retrogrades, just like I did for all the other signs, because 2022 is ending on a note that isn't quite an ending, because we are gonna have Mars and Mercury still retrograde at the end of 2022, and once 2023 starts, we will only notice the difference around January 18th when both planets go direct, and this is when we're gonna be like, whew, okay, so all the burdens are finally left behind. Yes, we dragged them with us into the beginning of 2023, but we were able to leave them there quite early. It's not like it's gonna take 6 months out of the new year to leave those burdens behind. So that is what the focus is here. And the first one to go direct is Mars on January 12th in your 4th house. And me being Pisces rising, I've had a lot of work done inside the house, and I'm not saying like remodeling necessarily, like there could be things of course that you could be doing, but there could be just a lot of work, a lot of busy energy within your home, a lot of running around, collecting documents, dealing with a lot of family situations, maybe going back and forth, traveling back and forth, moving and things like that. You could have done a lot of work within your home that is pretty exhausting, because 4th house is our home. It's our home environment where we're supposed to relax. But with Mars going retrograde there, and just Mars being there, it's really difficult to relax, within that comfort of your home. But now after the 12th, things are slowing down, things are kind of normalizing, and you're able to move forward here. Maybe a deal on the house finally comes through, certain documents regarding the property finally come up, you're able to finally move, and so on. Now, Mercury will go direct in your 11th house on the 18th of January, and this is the time when any kind of disputes, any miscommunications that you may have had within the group, within the social circle, are also going to receive less obstacles, and they're going to go direct. For me personally, I'm gonna have an internship around this time, and the first week or so is gonna be a very, very challenging week for me. And, I know that after January 18th, it's going to be much easier. There will be a lot more time that I can dedicate to my internship and things like that. So it could be that, you may have to just be patient until January 18th, because there are a lot of things that maybe are required from you, but you don't quite have the time to do them. And because of that, the team may not be very happy with what you can provide, right? Because you are very busy and not fully involved. After January 18th, you will be fully involved in those team projects, okay? There could also be miscommunication with a friend. But once Mercury goes direct, you will actually know exactly what to do regarding this friend. Whether or not to be friends with them still, or maybe to no longer be friends, right? It's gonna be totally up to you. Now, January 18th is another pretty big day. Aside from Mercury going direct, there is also a conjunction between Sun and Pluto at 28 degrees Capricorn in your 11th house. And that can be that pivotal point. That happens once a year. So that is a pretty important point where you start seeing the reality clearly, where there is some kind of support coming from either a very significant acquaintance, very powerful acquaintance, from a governmental institution, from some kind of a powerful friend, right? Or from a society. There may be help coming, but there may also be some sort of a review coming, feedback. You know, it's like you are in the spotlight of authorities on this day, and in order to get to your wish fulfillment, right, 11th houses are wishes, you have to be kind of under the microscope of a certain authority, possibly. However, for some people, this can play out as help from an authority. You know, conjunctions are two sides of the coin, so we don't ever know how exactly this can play out for people. However, I believe that this is that pivotal point that you will remember. You know, you will remember a year later that, yes, around this date, things have shifted for me in a major way. You know, around this date, I knew exactly what was going on and so on. For some people, maybe there could be a power clash between them and possibly a friend. You know, that could also be the case. Power struggles and maybe the results that are beneficial for you but not so beneficial for them, or even vice versa. But I don't think that this is going to be bad, okay? I think that it's going to be an okay influence. I do want to go back to January 6th because we're going to have a full moon in Cancer opposite Mercury in your 5th house. That is typically good energy, you know, but full moons in Cancer, they are very emotional, right? These are emotional endings. With an opposition to Mercury, it seems like possibly you might receive some emotional piece of news, right, regarding, for example, your romantic partner, especially if you're not married, if you are at initial stages of dating, you know, this full moon can impact them. You know, it can impact them. It can be that you may discover something, and it could be creating somewhat of a mental, I want to say maybe verbal opposition, right? Conflict, argument in some way at first. But then things kind of resolve, things go back to normal. This could also be that you may have to choose between your friend and between your romantic partner. Somebody here might be more important, and maybe someone's opinion might be more important. It may be that there is a certain venture that you are connected to emotionally very strongly, but it's time to let go because maybe it's not quite doing the right thing for you. It's wasting your time, for example. And it could be that around this time you will decide to move forward and choose something that is logically making more sense rather than what you are emotionally connected to. Because sometimes what we are emotionally connected to is not good for us. Or maybe it just has served its purpose. It could be a time of conception, it could be a time of giving birth, it could be a time of romance possibly starting, ending, or somehow taking a different turn. And your own business, maybe you were working on something there before and now it's being launched, but with a couple edits, because Mercury is going to be in opposition to this full moon, plus it's still going to be in retrograde, right? So a couple edits need to happen before this comes to fruition. So I believe that January 6th you will kind of know what to do. You will be working on it. Around January 18th you'll receive full-on green light, or you'll be able to complete it fully, perfectly, without having to make any edits or come back to it. And the last event that I would like to mention is happening on January 21st. It is a new moon in Aquarius in your 12th house. Well, if you've been planning to travel abroad, for example, for a while, now it could be the time for the next 6 months that you're able to go abroad. And it could be the place that you've never been to before, right? With Aquarius energy there. It could be something new. It could be a new place, it could be a new adventure, it could be, for example, an adventure that is connected to you somehow spiritually. You're not just going on vacation, you're going on some kind of a spiritual retreat, for example. It could be a very, very powerful time, the next 6 months, for you to dive into therapy. For you to really dig within your subconscious, you know, psychological techniques and spiritual techniques and so on, to somehow help yourself. And that could be a very, very powerful time for you as well. And it's the kind of therapy maybe that you've never done before. It's something unique to you, it's something new, and yet you understand that you need to try it out for it to work for you, for it to make sense. There could also be a behind-the-scenes project that you may start working on around January 21st for the next 6 months, and you may be nourishing it and taking care of it and perfecting it all behind the scenes, and you will be able to showcase it later to the world. But now maybe you are excited to get into it, you know, and to kind of keep it to yourself and to make something wonderful out of it. And that is your January, dear Pisces. I think that it's gonna be the time to possibly sort out your priorities, you know, what is more important to you, the social, kind of the social environment, or maybe your personal goals. And it's going to be the time where you are able to move towards your goals with a lot less obstacles, if any. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.